Now we'll end with a pair of listener questions. We'll do these a little rapid fire. The first one comes from Gareth Hughes, who says, with ticket sales so poor for the women's World Match Play, would it have been better off to add one women's match to the end, or not to the end, but to each session, than to have the women's final as a precursor to the main event on Sunday evening?
Yeah, possibly. I don't think it's a bad idea. And I was just looking actually to try and find out what the ticket sales are like for the Women's World Match Play, that Sunday afternoon session before the final with the World Match Play. And I can't really see how many tickets have been sold, haven't been sold, but just based on how many tickets are available. And aside from that session, all the other sessions are pretty much sold out, not many tickets left. And looking at the prices, I think it was £26 for a table, £21 for a balcony. So they are the cheapest sessions of the week. So I think now that we do have the lineup for the event, hopefully the tickets will start to sell pretty quickly, and the weekend a bit as well. There's a lot of darts fans that head up to Blackpool for the week, head up for the two weekends, either one of them, and it's a chance to go to the Winter Gardens, watch the event. I think it's I think the tickets will sell out pretty well towards as we get closer to the event. I think at the moment maybe there's not been that much publicity about it, but now that we know we are going to see the likes of Lisa, Fallon, a few of the other big names are going to be involved in this, I think we'll see the tickets start to sell, and fingers crossed we'll see a good turnout, because yes, we could have had it where you had one match added onto each session, but I don't think this is what the event is about. I don't think this is why the PDC have done it. They want to give the ladies that spotlight for that afternoon. All the eyes are going to be on them for that one session. So for me, I like the idea of having just that one session, all the ladies events, all the ladies matches in that one session. For me is a good idea, and hopefully we'll see the darts fans pick up those tickets and we'll see a good crowd for it.
Yeah, I understand the point of making it a focus and making it its own standalone event, and I applaud the PDC for having done that and giving it a chance. And there's still time to go; it could still sell out. But in terms of overall growing the women's game and growing the market for the game, having one match across 7 consecutive sessions, I think would have been better. And it would have also, it would have drawn out the event. And I guess there is something to be said about, with the prize money being what it is and most of these players having to work full-time jobs, it might just not have been sensible for them to have drawn it out over a week and had the players potentially have to be there a full week. But it would have brought more spotlight to it, and it would have had the players playing in front of an audience that was already tuned in, already there. I think it can go both ways for that reason. I think it would have been a better spectacle having the matches intertwined, but it also might not have been realistic for that reason of having to have the players be there for a full week. Maybe having 2 matches per session across 3 sessions, and then the final on Sunday as a precursor could have worked a little bit better. And that way they would have only had to be there from Thursday on, and it would have still mixed in. But I can understand it both ways. I'm neutral on it. I think it was a tough decision to make. I lean towards disagreeing with it, but I understand it.
And our last listener question comes from our guest co-host last week, Andrew Sinclair, inside the WDF. He says, a number of big name players missing out on the Women's World Match Play. How many of their absences could be described as crimes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any could be described as crimes. And I did kind of talk about this earlier, but some certainly don't seem fair, especially Rhian O'Sullivan, because she played all 12 events, and she played at the highest standard of other than Lisa Ashton or Fallon Sherrick in terms of average of anyone who played all 12 events. And she kept she started out the season slow. She only got 1 win from her first 3 events, and that's what really ended up doing her in. But as it went on, she kept playing well and kept running into players who were playing very well. She went out with a nearly 90 average in her last match, going out to Lisa Ashton. She went out to Lisa Ashton 2 other times in the money end of the tournament. Quarterfinal loss, and I guess the last 32 is in the money end, but she was averaging mid-80s in that. So she was playing really well and getting better. But the results at the beginning is what did her in. And can you call it a crime when you go out first round twice and second round the next event from the first 3 events and had a couple other second round exits later on? I don't know. Granted, one of those she played well in, but she left herself too much to do, and she still almost managed to do enough to get there, still finishing in the top 10. I think Rhian O'Sullivan, assuming this event happens next year, will be there. She's the closest for it to being able to call it a crime. Mikura Suzuki missed a weekend, and that's what kept her out. But both of them, if they play the full thing next year, you'd think they would get there. They are among the best players in the women's game right now. And hopefully we'll be in it next year.
Yeah, we should mention, for those who didn't see, this is a nod to our friend Yetzi on Twitter, who said that it would be a crime if Rhian O'Sullivan didn't qualify for the Women's World Match Play. And it is a fair point, isn't it? Because she was one of the top performers across the Women's Series. And in fairness, though, she has only got herself to blame, hasn't she? Because she did get to that final of the second event on the Saturday against Lorraine Winstanley, and she did have the match starts to beat her, and if she'd have won that game, won the title, an extra £400, that would have ended up being enough to get into this field. So she's going to be very disappointed not to make the field, given how she played across the 3 weekends with her overall average. And she's been in some good form this year. She made the semi-finals at Lakeside. She's made some finals as well, the Dutch Open, the Six Nations as well. So she's one of the top ladies in the game at the moment. So it is a shame to see her miss out, as it is Mikuru Suzuki as well, and missing that first weekend. I think that's probably been what's cost her, because I think, as I said on last week's show, if she'd have matched what she did on that second weekend, this past weekend, she picked up £950 on that second weekend. If she'd have done that again, that would have been enough for her to get in that top 8, but wasn't to be for her. She's missed out. Trina Gulliver, I think, is the other name there. She didn't play at the weekend, and she was in the spots going into it, and she did, of course, win one of those titles this season as well. So it's a shame we didn't get to see her in that. But one thing I did want to mention as well, and I forgot to mention it earlier as well, is with this first Women's World Match Play, for me, I don't know what you think about this, Burton, but I'd think about naming the trophy the Stacey Bromberg Trophy. This is going to be the first women's event we've had at the Winter Gardens since Stacey won that, the only PDC Women's World Championship. So I think that might be a nice little touch. What do you reckon?
I'm fully on board with that suggestion. Of course, Stacey Bromberg, for those who don't remember, won the only PDC Women's World Championship now 12 years ago. And that final, of course, was on the stage at the Winter Gardens during the World Match Play, as she beat Trisha Wright in a last leg thriller.